Here comes the nasty gram.
Send a priest to save my soul, forget it.
Welcome back to the Nastygram RPG podcast. This is episode 6 of One Shot at a Monster.
Feeling it too hard is the poison to the heart of a cynic redemption. Now I'm waking to pain.
All right, guys. I'm Josh. I'm going to be your DM.
Hi, I'm Dean. I'm going to be playing Sir Adric Windmere the Knight.
Hey, I'm John. I'm playing Dr. Merrick Hoffman, the half-elf scholar.
I'm Jake, and I'm playing Avery Colburn, the nobleman.
I'm Matt. I'm playing Kieler Ulfson, the Bone Carver Ranger.
All right, we are back, and boy, had a little fun session last time around. So there was a bloody confrontation behind the Crossroads Inn, which saw the death of Kriegnarl and one of his followers, and did manage to capture one, which led to an extended interrogation scene in a Tarantino-esque way up in the upstairs of this little bit nicer inn. You gained some information. You learned a little bit, at least from this lowling's perspective, the seemingly cell-like insurgent structure of these zealots, and some of why he believes he's following Arctogrim and what he believes to be in touch with, and a little bit of the inter-party conflict between what to do with this guy, as some of you wanted to dispatch him to the Lord's Guards, dispatch him to his maker, but Keeler wanted to give him a little bit more of a traditional end, according to his people, and the highest form of dishonor. And it got a little touchy, but when the Lord's men were summoned, to your surprise, Avery and Adric, and maybe Hoffman to some extent, they honor the Northerners' ways if they claim jurisdiction. So that was settled to some extent, but it was a little bit of an icy reunion, no pun intended, on the chilly, imagine a November, late October in New England kind of morning, as you are meeting down on the docks, and you board the Solvend. And it's later in that day. You've been sailing for a few hours. The Solvend is a medium size, not too large, long ship, but it's about 60, 70 feet long, 15 feet wide. And you see pretty quickly the benefits of this type of craft as it cuts through the waves, banks of oars on each side, with one man on each oar, plus the one large and sturdy square sail. And at times you feel almost flying through the waves with a favorable wind as you head north. You've met most of the crew, from what there is. The master of the ship's name is Iric. He's a man of his late 40s, weathered skin, and his seems to be the mate of the boat, Jan, who's a little bit louder. Iric doesn't speak as boisterously or as often, and you've kind of gotten a just sort of bit of time. There's no below decks to speak of. There's merely in the center of the ship is an area for cargo. There's the rowing positions on the side. There's small platforms at the bow and the aft, where the rudder seems to be transferable. The ship could almost be made quickly to go in the opposite direction. And the captain or the mate, whoever's running the boat, is up there. And there's a bit of a covered area below it. But again, mostly cargo. Is a very functional ship. And from what you've been told, this will be a journey of at least a couple days, depending on weather. And you're cruising through. So where do you guys think you are? Have you come together to discuss things, or is there still a little bit of distance? Amongst the cargo is also the tied up form of it wasn't Magnar, Idar.
I didn't realize we were bringing him with. I thought he was going to just deal with that back at town. And
not in
we're gonna
Bergenheim.
be done with it.
Not
Okay.
in Bergenheim.
All right.
I probably have taken Kieler aside at some point to discuss
Okay.
this.
Let's hear what that sounded like.
Aedric is convinced that Kieler is doing what he believes is right according to his culture, thus believing there is really no conversation to be had. And Aedric, perhaps stubbornly so, has decided that he will stay away from Kieler until he is done with this, so then we can move on from that.
Okay.
And Avery, this is more proof that these savages need to be educated.
Hoffman,
The great white help of the kingdom.
Hoffman kind of leans across the bow or the side of the ship, looking out over the waters next to Kieler. He says, "Now, Kieler, now you've had some time to maybe cool off. No pun intended. We must discuss this punishment. I understand. He is traitor to you, yes? He has gone against his tribe and all other tribes. He wishes to bring great pain and sorrow on the islands of the north. Or at least, maybe not him specifically, but, well, in any case. I understand there's punishment needed. He's a traitor. But this whole mutilation thing, while I understand, perhaps for the benefit of our compatriots and the fact that we'll be traveling together for who knows how long and fighting alongside each other, perhaps we can just leave him out in the wilderness. That's an apt punishment, no? He will surely die to starvation or to some grand beast that finds him in the water or in the open. Is that not good enough for you, Kieler?
You think he would die?
If it's in the waste?
On these islands, when we are children, you are sent out into the lands. You're given a knife, seal fat, and a fur. 2 weeks, you survive. You find plants, you kill, you survive. It is how you live up here. If you cannot pass, you will die. He has done this. I have done this. We have all done it. We take away his sight because it is the disadvantage. The disadvantage that he deserves. Women, children, families gone. Never to be heard from again, yes?
Indeed.
You say give him compassion. Would they give you compassion in that alley? Would they not slaughter you and your fancy-head friend and your shiny-chested companion? Weak. They will die here if they do not listen.
Record, I don't wear hats because that would cover up my haircut.
My breastplate is purposely beat up to give me a more menacing
It's
look.
like that perfect look. The armies are about to clash, and the guy with no helm, his hair just flowing in the wind as he rallies with his sword in the air.
Hoffman says, yes. What you say, I understand. But you have to realize this man, this boy, his mind was altered. He was controlled. He was lied to. Yes?
Yes, he believed. He still attack, no?
Perhaps more than believed, Kieler. Perhaps more than believed. Perhaps controlled. There's a difference. Don't you agree?
What do you mean controlled?
The Octogrim, or his minions, use some sort of... Well, obviously, he talked to him through his mind. And in some way, perhaps this Octogrim is controlling them, giving them false memories. These visions you had, and my friend had, they are as real to you and him as these lies were to this man. This Octogrim gave him these memories, these ideas.
Yes, that is true. Aedric sees dreams. He demands to go to my islands, to cursed lands, for shield he sees in dream. That is okay. This man sees dream given by Octogrim. that is now not his fault. So we not listen to Adric, we not listen to him. We don't need to go get shield. Yes?
Well, look, I don't really work in these visions and
Skullduggery. Yes?
yeah, that's not really the right application for the word. But in any case, I work in the real, and all that man did was follow this hooligan to assault us in the town. We didn't see him kill children or women.
What he supports did.
What do you do to a man who attacks you? How do you deal with that?
Who attacks me?
What is the punishment for a tribesman who attacks another tribesman?
You bring to council.
Well, there you go.
He does not deserve counsel.
Are you so sure?
Are you?
No, but I am not the law around here.
Then maybe you trust.
Just seems so. I'm just saying.
He has chance.
For the people, for our companions, for peace.
One who calls me savage
Well.
for companions.
He, the Lord,
For those who think I am nothing, who think you are nothing,
the Lord Colburn, he hasn't.
we do for them.
He.
And you say, I am controlled. They need to bring savages down, yes? Who is savage? Do I go to their lands, tell them what to do? I hear of what they do to people who steal in your southern lands. They lock them in cell, feed them maggots, rats, no chance to survive, left alone to die in their own minds. Here, I take his sight. He still has smell. He still has sound. I not take his ears. He can still hunt. He can still drink water. Yes? He has chance to survive. Maybe he finds friends on islands. Maybe Octogrim save him. Yes? Then he gets stronger. He come back. He has chance to fight me. Gain honor. Now, he deserves what he gets.
Avery walks over to Windmere with my big,
I'm
heavy.
sitting at the aft, the stern, the bow. I'm sitting on the bow of the ship, just kind of watching us cut through the water.
I'm wearing my big, heavy fur coat. I come over and I say, "They're still talking about what to do with the damn half elf."
Philosophy's beyond me.
I was thinking about our interrogation. At first, I was a bit disappointed. I thought we really learned nothing. And then I realized that in learning nothing, we have in fact learned something valuable.
Explain.
That one, Magnar, he doesn't know anything. If many of their recruits are so ignorant, if they are in fact small cells, then this means that it might be possible to infiltrate them. Not you or I, of course. But they could.
I can barely get along with a companion who's our friend.
I meant more because of the ears.
Shiny armor.
I don't think they have any humans within their group, but it would seem that they don't know who all of their members are. And that means that this brand is important.
I've considered this interrogation as well. What do we know about holy orders? What do we know about kings? What do we know about romantic brigands that lead men in the forest? We know that they have a message. We know that they convince people. We know that they're trying to get people to follow them. It's strange that Arctogrim, seemingly invisible, that no one has seen, that is sleeping, is able to create a following around him without a clear message that's etched on a stone or carved in a tree or written in the stars.
Hoffman seems to think that he uses some sort of magic to control minds.
Interesting. Well, I suppose that would make them unwilling followers in a sense, wouldn't it?
I don't know. But
It doesn't matter, but you are right.
My fear is that we are no closer to being able to identify them. We are still going into this land without knowing who our enemies are. We're
Right.
unprepared.
We're not going to be so lucky that they are all as large as the last man who sort of stood out to us. Could be children, women, people to poison us, to stab us when we sleep,
They
to...
may not all be so stupid as well.
If they are controlled by magic, what's to stop them from killing themselves if they know they get us in the process, sinking a boat, starting a fire?
That's a good question. We should speak to Hoffman about this. What actually would protect one against that magic? If, in fact, Octogrim uses such charms, we need to be protected against them.
Indeed.
I
The idea of being bewitched keeps me up at night, Avery.
say, Doctor,
As you turn to beckon to Hoffman, you actually see Eirik had just come down from the position you're actually right underneath. It's kind of just a raised platform. Jan went up there and he walks down a ladder and turns to you as you turn back, and he says, "Hello. We have not had much chance to speak. This morning we needed to catch the tide. I wanted to more properly welcome you above the Solvent.
The honor is ours, Captain.
If we did not discuss it, it will be things go well. 2 days. Crew is rested. We pull hard. We must travel a bit further off course to leave Idar Dagbjorn. Leave him blind.
how much extra time will that take?
Just more pulling for the men. Same 2 days. For an appropriate island. We will.
Excellent.
Very well. You seem to run a well-organized ship. Thank you for everything so far.
We will be to Svanheim. That is my home. 2 days. It is custom for our people not to speak for another's business. So when I asked Kieler Urvason, he told me his purpose. I would ask you if you would tell me what brings you this far with a man of Unvar to my lands. You are under no compulsion to tell me.
I look to Avery.
I wish to know.
Say, I'm sorry, Josh. A man of Umvar.
That's his. Well,
That's-
wow, if you paid any attention.
Okay, yeah,
But
I probably don't know what that means.
He kind of, when he says it, he gestures back or up, I guess, towards the
Okay.
You guys are at the bow or the aft?
Bow.
Okay. He gestures towards the aft where Hoffman and Kieler are.
I say Kieler is our guide, and the other one, that is Dr. Hoffman from the capital. We are in search of lost treasure.
I see. Very well. I wish you find fortune. I will see to the ship. If you need anything, let me or Jan know.
Before I leave Keeler to answer his call, I say to Keeler, Hoffman says to Keeler, look, do what you have to, but make sure they don't see it, and don't make a meal of it.
Meal.
Really dig in there.
For our sake,
It will be done according to tradition.
just make sure Windmere doesn't see it.
They don't have to watch.
Well, you don't have to do it in the open. Any case,
Yes.
I step away and step up towards Avery. Yes,
Dr. Hoffman, we were discussing our interrogation last night and
Indeed.
what exactly we learned. What do you think?
well, it certainly is interesting that the Octogrim speaks to these victims in their mind. Seems to corroborate that part of the story, at least. And it seems as though these men or these tribesmen don't really know each other. There are go-betweens, yes?
I nod and And I say, that's exactly what I was saying to Sir Winmere. It seems that they don't all know each other. They rely, I assume, on these brands to help identify other members.
But the question is, are the brands unique to the cells? Are there other brands or other markings that other groups use? Or is it all this? And I kind of pull it out and kind of...
Do you know what significance that mountain has? Is there something special about the iconography?
Well, if I had to guess, it had to be something to do with what Kieler said, the brothers and the sisters, right? The active and the inactive volcanoes. This seems like it would be an active volcano, yes? Fire in the mountain. It would be a sister.
There must be far fewer of those than there are brothers.
And it is far more obvious to point out an active volcano than an inactive volcano. That is for sure.
Does this... I fear to even say it, but does this mean that Octogrim resides in an active volcano?
That certainly would be quite the lair for this creature.
The myths said something about fire.
Yes, I've seen much fire in my sleep.
It is true. The myths themselves refer to him not wanting to be burned by his own fire. And perhaps there is something to be said of this volcano is trapping him there. Or, I don't know. But it seems to all lead to him being in a active volcano.
According to the legends, a common trend to all of these tellings is that in general, the reason that he's in the north is that, and again, just a legend, but most of it is that he needs the cold of the north to keep from burning up.
Well, the other thing, you had mentioned that perhaps these cult members, that their will might be controlled by the Octogrim. Do you think it has this power over a man's mind?
Yes, we need to protect ourselves against this, Hoffman.
I was thinking about that, and it occurred to me there are stories about elves and, well, sun elves specifically, and the offspring. It was said that we had hardened minds. That doesn't get tested these days. Nobody really has that ability to control one's mind. But half elves, seemingly in the stories, have protection against that.
Hoffman, I was telling Avery before you came over here that one of the concerns I have is that most cults and orders and groups are following some sort of message which can be located in book, in scripture, in the stars, somewhere. I don't know of anything that exists for Octogrim. How are these people coming together? How are they forming? What is giving them the message, and what is the message other than what?
I fear that these tribes have been living in the north, and the tales of the Octogrim are much more real to them than they are to you and I.
Sure.
They have lived it, and they protect the past to the ice elves. I don't really know that not much is known about the ice elves and their role to play in the Octogrim, but
It seems to lack a message.
it does. But if it is able to speak in their minds, it doesn't need a message. If it finds weak-willed tribespeople, it can imprint its message on them, convincing them there is a greater truth, or that what they are doing is wrong, or even perhaps to...
Adric turns his head and he looks, and the camera rolls around and passes over everyone on the ship, and he just says, any one of those could be a dagger in our back then.
I'm not so sure they are suicidal. That man was a warrior. He wished to die a warrior's death. He didn't wish to do it. He didn't run at us with a cold heart and and blackened eyes, he fought with vigor and then ran when things got tough.
The shaman preferred to be a martyr.
It is perhaps her who is a more dangerous one, perhaps more corrupted.
She did in the end, but remember that the whole reason that she was in that position is that she appeared to use her magics to fake her death.
Yeah.
Right. So she wasn't just trying to die, throw her body at us, but
It was when there was literally no other recourse.
When there are these strong religious uprisings, there are those that are followers and those that are true followers.
Hmm.
And perhaps she was more of the latter, not willing to give up anything.
Keeler, as they are, your companions are gathered up at the bow of the ship, and you're kind of left alone a bit. You look never too far from you is the tied up form of Idar. The crew is they're pushing pretty hard. They're almost all on oars and manning lines. They're definitely working hard to make some headway. The captain, the master of the ship, Eirik, understood your plea and is doing his best to get to a appropriate place to leave this man for the night. But the ship's mate, Jan, comes over to you. He's actually a bit older than the captain himself, probably in his 50s. And he speaks to you obviously in your local tongue. He's of a different village. But he says, Kieler Ursen, I see you are settled, yes?
Yes. Your crew rolls strong and smooth.
Well, Eirik, he rewards them well, but deadlines are tough. And I am not known to be a friend to any of the lazy types, if you understand.
I do.
I must ask, you must not answer if you do not feel the need to, but this man, what is it he did? What does Darkbjorn be deserved for?
I cannot give details, but he betrayed Viandits.
I will not lie, I saw on his chest there's a symbol. I've never seen it myself. I did not know. It reminds me of the talk of some of our people. Maybe you've heard it before. I had an uncle, not well loved in my family, and not long for them. Gone now, I'm sure dead. But he spoke of that one. He believed it even then. There were no signs back then. He was a fool, yes. But you know the phrase, liberation by fire? These are not good times.
Yes, it grows dark. Do you remember the prophecy many years ago?
Yes.
I fear it has come.
Why is it you bring these southerners, then, if in this troubled time, that other one, did not realize at first, he is of the other kind.
Yes, his skin is odd, yeah?
Kieler Ursen, I hope you have good cause to bring them to our lands in this time of darkness. I do not know where to look for hope, but I would not think it looks like them. I mean, look at that man's hair. He spends more time with it than any woman of our tribes.
It is disgusting, yes? It is always wet, slimy.
I thought at first he was wife of the other one. I've heard stories. Their warriors take younger boys with them.
Yes. I thought as well. It looked like the fancy hair was, well, I think they say a bottom.
Yes, I could imagine. He pats his hand on your shoulder.
I hope I have not made a mistake. I only follow what nature shows, and it was them that spoke.
You have the light of the moon in your eyes, Kieler Ursen. I think you are wise beyond your years. If you need a second for Darkenbjorn, I am here. No, I must encourage the men.
That was more romantic than anything that ever happened between Adric and Avery. God damn.
What happens between Adric and Avery is purely carnal.
Now that was true love.
It's not gay if you're going to slay.
That's it, baby.
All right. The day passes. The crew rows hard. And by midpoint through the day, you start to get to some of these islands. They're mostly very small and scattered at first. And picture, is it the Skellig? How is that pronounced? Those islands off the coast of Ireland, very much made famous by the Star Wars sequel movies, like where Luke is holding out.
Yep.
These rocky precipices that seem both like jagged and yet so ancient, rising abruptly out of the ocean, partly dotted with greens as trees and grasses cling to these steep slopes. You see wildlife, hawks and birds, and sweeping in at these. There seems to be constant dangers, and you realize how skilled the captain has to be to guide his way through this just maze of rocky undersea growths, pushing up and reading the way, pushing hard between the strength of the crew and the favorable wind. And you do indeed get to an island by that nightfall. And the ship is actually dragged up. The crew dismounts and pulls it about halfway on shore and anchors it up at the end. And they make a bit of a camp for the night, kind of all around the prow of the ship. Basically, they kind of pull down and make lean-tos from the portion of the ship that's on the island. And they start a fire and fell some game and actually cook up some fresh ship and some bird right there. And at some point in the evening, pretty early before the food is ready, you see Kieler. What are you doing here? And is anyone having any more words with Kieler before he takes Idar off for his
Nope.
camping trip?
I don't think Avery really cares. At this point, I think I'm just more annoyed that it's a distraction from our mission. Like my opposition to it initially was just like, more of a cultural thing. Like morally, I'm not really that concerned.
Okay. All right. Adric, you've spoken your piece on it, and Hoffman, you gave your
Tried.
best shot.
Yeah.
Keeler, do you take Jan with you, or you do it alone?
I take Jan with me.
Okay. He, do you at least take out of sight from the encampment? It's pretty easy to kind of just walk over a finger of this island that juts up and be out of sight pretty quickly.
Walk over the finger before they cut it off, though.
Yeah, I would walk off, and as I'm walking off, I'd look back at Hoffman and sort of give him a nod and walk further off, sort of up and around a precipice out of view.
Hoffman breathes out, shakes his head.
You get there, and Jan is helping you, and this man Idar turns to you, and he says his wounds haven't healed completely yet, but his he is at least able to lock both eyes onto you. The swelling's gone down enough, and you've probably assisted in this, so his more severe injuries are mended. He says, I ask you one last time, if you call yourself a warrior, to give what you do not deserve. You've taken in with those who are weak. And here, you seek to make me strong die a coward's death. I fight with honor. I spoke the truth. If you do not bear to see it, that is fine. But at least let me die as a man of our people.
I'll look out over the water. I'll give you the chance that you deserve. I'll pull a bone out of my pocket that I was whittling on the ship, and it's got a figure of a humanoid on it, sort of running, and it looks like it runs like little stick figures up over a mountain and sort of jumping a great distance. I give it to him, pull out my dagger. You will have more of a chance than my father had when this happened to him. May I see you again, and then I will give you the warrior's death you want. And I'll slash one eye and take his thumb of his dominant hand.
All right. Jan holds him appropriately, and he grunts. He doesn't cry out. He bites. You see blood trickle down as he bites hard into his lip to keep from crying out, and kind of staggers back and looks at you and kind of nods, gives you a nod, and he turns without another word and starts walking towards the island. See him trying to staunch the flow of blood, and trying to keep what dignity he can as he walks off into the darkness.
As he walks off, I'll yell, "May the long night watch over you." I'll pull out a lute and start playing a little dirge.
Master Eric and one of the sailors bring you over some meat and drop to you in some hardtack and some skins of ale. And you swear you hear music and the wind. You look around, but all the crew seems a little too close.
I've been kind of trying to engage Dr. Hoffman in asking him a lot of questions about what we might encounter when we get to these elders and stuff like that, and what we should be prepared for. Kind of trying to stay focused on the mission.
Mhm. Well, I think we'll have to explain what exactly we are here to do. And we also have to make sure that, well, we don't know if any of these elders are compromised. Perhaps we can. I don't know how to. Well, in any case, we perhaps need to show them somehow our dedication. How we do that, I don't know, but we can offer it at least. Perform a task for them. I don't know. At the very least, we rooted out a cell of these zealots. Perhaps that goes somewhere with them.
The question is, how much have they infiltrated them? Yes, is it a cell, or is the truth, in fact, that they control most of the population? Who knows?
Yes.
The one Magnar, whatever his name was, he kept talking about being free from the oppression of the capital and
No, not the capital. They are these tribes. They don't necessarily choose this land on their own terms. At least that's not how the tales go. The Ice Elves, further north, they have used these tribes as a buffer between us and them.
so it's the Ice Elves that they're angry with.
Perhaps. Or maybe some of them are. Or the Octogrim is using lies and deceit to make it seem like the Ice Elves are forcing them to do this or that. Or perhaps it is true that the Ice Elves do control these tribes and use them as a barrier.
When was the last time the Ice Elves were seen here in these lands, though? They don't communicate with anyone directly, do they?
No, not that I know of.
But they have magic, more powerful than yours.
Yes.
Interesting. I look at Windmere.
Makes me wonder what they have to gain from following the Arctogrim again. What do they think they're getting? Strength to defend themselves against the Ice Elves, independence from the tribes that they... perhaps they believe that the Ice Elves and the tribal leaders have come to some sort of agreement, which is what keeps these people oppressed. It's possible. We will find that out when we speak with these elders.
It is possible. I mean, look around. This is a harsh life. they
Indeed.
lead. If you had a glimmer of hope that perhaps you could remake your life in a place that is a bit more hospitable, would you perhaps not take it?
So then they blame the ice elves for the life they're forced to live.
I'm not sure. I've met many different types of people that live in terrible places, and they never felt sorry for themselves for living there. But they weren't always happy with their leadership.
It is the ice elves to the north and the kingdom to the south. Not many opportunities for them.
They could join the kingdom properly. They don't need to live like this.
That is just another king to bow and scrape to. Another power. They want to be independent. Can you blame them?
Of course not.
As you guys are talking, you see Kieler and Jan walking back. Eirik and a couple of the other sailors go out to directly kind of intercept Kieler, bring him some food, and it almost seems like they're aware he's coming back from something significant.
Got it.
Jan kind of veers off and walks to you, and he says in the the common Southern tongue, he says, "You have everything you need. You are fed and watered, ailed."
Yes.
You've been quite hospitable. Thank you.
He looks right at you, Hoffman. He says, and you're in the Elvish tongue, which, again, close enough.
Yeah.
He says, "Cousin of the South, the man who bound to you as guide, you would do well to listen. Wisdom and experience beyond his years. You will need it." He as he says, he kind of looks back where they walked from. He nods, he says, "Well, rest. We have a long day tomorrow."
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm just kind of staring into the fire. I kind of ignored him when he was here. And after he's gone, I say, "Hoffman, tell us the story, the legend of the Arctic Rim. I know no one truly knows why it was created, but it was the elders that created it."
Sorry, one sec. Matt, does Kieler, after kind of, the
Doing high fives and
and it's not there. It's not congratulatory. It's it's almost somber. There's no high fives. There's no cheering. They give you food. They kind of strong warrior's hand on the shoulder. They understand that it's what you did is considered like a burden.
Right.
And they feed you. Do you after that? Do you kind of head off on your own? Do you need some space, or do you think you'd make your way back with these jabronis?
I'd make my way back.
Okay.
I probably have a big leg of roasted whatever. Trying to pack on as much fat and calories as I can.
You also have a skin of fine mead, which is definitely the personal stuff of the master of the ship. So he gave that to you. You make your
May I ask
your way
a
over.
question? Windmere's curious. Would presenting, and I apologize, but I forget his name because I have lots of pages of notes and they're getting very, very messy. But the gentleman with the giant, sweet hammer of magic.
Krignor.
Krieg
the
Hammerator.
It was Krieg Gnarl, right? Right, I remember that. So, would if I, so I don't make a fool of myself because I don't want to just do it if I'm going to do that because it would be stupid. I'm going to see if I can ascertain if taking Kriegnarl's hammer, presenting it to Kieler as a peace offering that perhaps he could give to the elders as, hey, this is what we're rooting out of your lands, if that's something that would be cool, or if he'd just be like, oh, you're dumb, and throw it in the ocean. Have I gained any insight? Maybe I could ask Hoffman. I'm not sure.
You don't. You could ask Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
I think from your perspective, warrior to warrior, because despite your different ways, you definitely look at Kieler as a warrior.
Of course,
you fight differently, and you certainly approach the end result, or deal with the prisoners differently. But warrior to warrior, you can't see how you wouldn't find that at least a gesture of respect.
Sure. Okay.
What's kind of neat about that too is that's like the same thing you did with my character.
Exactly.
you
I was
know?
just thinking that. Yeah.
This is what I do. I kill things and I give them weapons.
Present their weapons as trophies.
I'm essentially a house cat.
Dead orc head.
There's a fucking mouse in my shoe.
Take a point of inspiration just for a perfect fucking joke. That's you, Dean. Hey, and guys, don't forget. I know it's a new rule, but try to keep your eye on that and call out other people when you see it. Keep them flowing.
Right. I will.
And Matt, take one.
I was gonna say Matt could have 10 at this point because he's been quite dismissive of us.
Dismissive and the Arctic Survivor. This the whole northern element. Grab one for
I
that.
think also for the outsiders, Oathbound, that he respected our oath together about.
Yeah.
He listened to me at least. So
Yep. I like that.
I'd say John gets one as well for, at least in the end accepting what I had to say and not trying to stop me one last time.
I mean, staring into a fire like Jaime Lannister while some guy babbles bullshit at you and then you just ignore it. I mean, Jake should probably get one, right? It was pretty gangster.
What is this, Oprah?
I mean-
you get an inspiration. You get an
Is
inspiration.
there a
Look
max,
under your seats.
is there a
Look under your
max
seats.
number of inspiration that Jake can get for being insensitive?
Yeah, it caps out. It caps out.
Gotta start getting some of those other ones.
So anyway.
yeah. Well, one to everybody, two to Matt
There you
is
go.
what I got from all that.
Got it.
That was good stuff.
And I think, since we're a little out of character right now, I think I've been Avery. He, it's really a cultural thing. Like he doesn't think there's a problem with half elves. He respects Hoffman and his opinion a lot. Because
he's like
Hoffman is a Southerner.
he's a
because
house
Hoffman is
half-elf.
from
Right.
the capital. Yeah. It's
Yes. Right. It's not not racist.
Like
it's just
this-
purely cultural.
well, I mean, the stupid humans on this boat are just as bad.
Right.
Right, exactly. It's cultural.
I got you.
Absolutely.
Um,
Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
Adric is going to intercept Kieler on his way back to us.
okay.
Kieler, I have this thing wrapped in cloth and freshly oiled down. And I say, you fought bravely. And despite our differences in culture, we are brothers in arms. And I hand it to him. I hand him this crazy fucking hammer. This is for you.
Well, it is Kriegnall's hammer.
It is. It is now Keeler's hammer. I don't bow or anything. Let's go.
I cannot use this, but thank you, I guess.
I laugh. We were just coming up with a plan. Won't you join us? I walk back to the group.
I'll follow. Set the hammer down beside me. Pull out that meat skin and pour some to Hoffman and Adric, and then sit back down.
Kieler, we're just discussing the origins again of this octogrim, or at least going through what we had knowledge of. And yes, the story, the elders, I believe they created it. If not created it, perfected it would be the correct use of that word.
and who or what defeated it initially, imprisoned it, or did whatever to make it dormant?
The stories are endless on that part. The gods gave us powers, gave the kingdom power to defeat the octogrim and send it away, and then in turn defeat the elder. The elves themselves were able to steal the magics away from the elder race, and
There was a group of champions that were appointed by Carmarcos himself that defeated him. I've seen it in my vision.
Are you talking of things that will come or things that have come?
Things that had come in the past.
I'm just going to be staring at Hoffman while he's talking, looking him directly in the eyes as he's talking about dreams.
And what is the relationship between the elders and the ice elves?
I'm curious about this myself.
the stories are that some of the even humans were designed or created by the elder. They were brought to life, and the elves themselves were given magic. Where the split came, where Some went north and some went west. Hoffman shrugs.
Yeah, don't get too specific or Ridley Scott's going to sue us.
Yeah. They that happened thousands of years ago, before written history. This is all passed down through story and stories that we don't even know of in our kingdom.
And what about what you said about the elves' magic? Was it taken from the elders?
That is what we believe. At least most of us in the scholarly professions, that the elves stole the magic from the elder and used it to defeat the Octogrim, and then in turn defeated their creators. And in some ways, it was the humans who dug up that ancient magic and again used it to defeat their captors, their oppressors.
We've been trying to determine what the motivation of the Octogrim is, what it wants, what its followers want. All we know is the ravings of that madman.
All we know is that they are trying to kill us with no clear reason.
But it would seem that they wish to be free.
Dean, your kind of mind flicks back to the hateful and yet direct way, the last words of Kriegnarl as he spat at you. Go then and bring it to him.
What does anything want that was wronged, or its creators or its people were destroyed? Perhaps it wants revenge.
Revenge against the elves.
Hoffman nods.
And it enlists those willing from the tribes, those who would wish to be freed from the oppression, I suppose, of being forced to guard these northern lands. It sees in them a kinship.
Kieler, what do you know? What does your tribe know of the Ice Elves? The wild ones to the north.
Me? I do not know much. They are stories I remember as children. Fairy tales, mostly. Most of us thought they would be the ones to come and help us with the Arctilgrim, or whatever was to come.
Before
But
Kriegnarl,
we have heard nothing. From what I've heard, it's been years since messages from the Ice Elves have come down.
Do many of your people resent the Ice Elves?
Why? Why would we resent them?
I don't know.
It seems the Octogrim is telling them that the Ice Elves themselves are the cause of their imprisonment in this land. That they are mere pawns to the Ice Elves.
That is funny. I see it differently. But I do not spend time much talking with the villages. I spend my time in the lands. I see us as stronger than them. We protect them. We are stronger than them. I'll nod over towards Adric and Avery. We hold them both at bay. We are the best of both worlds. Half them and half them. We survive in lands that others perish. That is a gift.
You don't have to sell me on the superiority of the half-elves. I kind of like chuckle to himself. But,
if I may.
yes.
Interrupt the love fest.
Well,
Wink, wink.
before Kriegnarl was able to kill anyone, and I stabbed him through the chest with my dagger, he did say,
Humble brag.
go then and bring it to him before he perished. What do you suppose this means? Go then and bring it to him. His final words to
We
me.
could have found out more if you didn't stab him in the chest.
Well,
Maybe he could say more.
be that as it may, perhaps it is a challenge.
Remember the peace offering. Remember the mall.
Yeah,
mall-
Hoffman's like,
The mall was a gift.
perhaps it is a challenge. Perhaps he wishes to prove how strong his tribes are. That is what they believe up here, that proof through strength. Although,
What is it your dreams tell you, Adric? I'm gonna mime tapping on the on your chest armor from across the fire.
Not much.
They look for this. This is their symbol they find. We look for their brand. They look for yours.
That they knew I was.
What is it you can tell us? Why do they want you?
I wish I had the answer for you, Kieler. They knew I was coming, and how, I don't know why. The idea of magic goes beyond my comprehension. Perhaps they had a vision of my arrival, and that's why they stationed a sailor at the docks to waylay us when they had the first opportunity to do so. I could not tell you how they knew I was coming.
Perhaps your dream has the answer? You say you're here for a shield?
Yes,
Maybe that is what they want you to bring.
but
Perhaps going to Trekulin would be a mistake?
Keeler,
perhaps.
you had a dream as well, or the elder that sent you, yes? Someone had a dream about Hoffman, correct?
The council. Not him specifically, no. But the prophecy said a brethren would come. That is why we thought from the north. But again, years, silence. And
How
then
long ago did this prophecy occur?
3 years.
Windmere.
The moon rose over the sisters. The fire burned. The moon bled.
Yes, Hoffman.
Tell me again. This vision you have about the shield.
Sure. It is a shield. I'm not sure what it's referred to. It's circular in nature. It has 6 points upon it. 3 representing Carmacos and his teachings, and 3 representing Eladrin. It repelled the fire. It turned back the flame. The flame of what, I'm not sure. I would imagine the Arctogrim. And this flame, not like you see emotions if there's fire around, but white, burning, hot, white flame.
Burning hot white flame.
It was my intuition of the stream that to hold the shield of the twins would be to be able to turn back some sort of devastating flame.
You're sure flame was fire?
I'm not sure. Just a burning, tough to say, but burning white flame is the best way I can describe it, as I recall.
There are storms here. The snow blows. It burns like fire.
Well, it seems that this creature, being in the north, to
Will the power of winter?
well,
To save its life, yes.
story is that it's here to save itself from its own flame.
Interesting.
Even it was given a chance to survive.
So if it had the shield, it could protect itself from its own flame. It could free itself. Perhaps we have this all wrong. Perhaps we are the traitors, Keeler. Perhaps if we are defeated, you'll be left on a rock like this. Consider for a moment that what the elves with the brands are doing is trying to prevent us from bringing a tool to the Arctogrim that will allow it to be released.
John, you especially, what Avery just said kind of set some wheels in motion in your head. You're thinking about that, and Dean Adric's probably thinking about it just because he's obviously this is the source of his vision.
Sure.
So in some ways, you're immediately, for what he said to be true is he's saying your vision essentially is
A warning.
is a warning, or
Could be a warning.
maybe something else. Also, you definitely know that the motivations of the zealots. mean, at least initially, it was just all out effort to kill the bearer of the Order of the Blackstone specifically. And he certainly got some attention last time around and seemed to be a almost spiteful, hateful last curse that was cast his way. And who knows what this talk of whatever a deal was, if that was or was not true from Edar or from Kriegnar, what Edar said.
And one of them also said, "Don't let him get it." Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, you guys kind of sit in silence around the fire, each a little bit lost in your own thoughts, and
I'll keep passing that meat around, and this time I'll actually pour Avery a cup as well.
all right. Well, a little peace offering, a little peace all the way around.
He pours it in his hair.
He throws it. Yeah. Here you go,
It
Slick.
would just beat off.
I drink it, but it's way too strong, and I go back to wine.
And the fire starts to burn lower, and most of the crew and you guys head back towards the ship. Pretty simple accommodations and cozy, to say the least. Aedric, this probably isn't completely foreign to you. Even as a knight, you've spent time on battlefields, and sometimes
It sucks.
it sucks. Avery, this is probably your least comfortable night. So basically, the guys have thrown down sailcloth on these rocks, and there's more sailcloth covering. With no fires to gather around to burn all night, they essentially people more or less packed like sardines, to share the body heat under this thing. So you're under essentially a giant lean-to with 20 sailors and the four of you.
They must smell so bad.
So I've grabbed, since before we all bed down, I went around to where the fire was, and I grabbed some rocks that were heated by the fire, and I've set it up for all of us.
Nice. It's kind of put those in a little pile in the center, kind of around you guys, and you are with the sailcloth below you and above you. It's pretty heavy, multiple layers and shit behind you. Plus all the body heat is being generated. You definitely aren't cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit nuts to butts as far as the packing. But you pass the night. Dean.
Only 3 of you got pregnant.
Who is the father? That's our next arc. Dean, during the night, Aedric awakes, and you look around to your companions and suddenly realize they're not there. You sit upright. You're on a rocky island, and there's that kind of feeling in the back of your mind of maybe this isn't real, but you're kind of just going through the moment.
Sure.
And you start to walk forward. The ground starts to be a little bit icier. There's snow around, and it begins to go darker and darker.
Aedric reaches for his weapon that he hopes is on his hip.
It's not. It's an empty scabbard. You reach down to your boot for your dagger. It's not there on your back. It grows darker, and it's not natural. It's like the lights are just being turned down, and you start to move forward faster. This feeling that you've had in some of these other dreams comes back, a feeling that you very rarely
Terror.
Helpless terror. You start racing forward. You're slipping down, bruising and cutting your hands, and on the snow and the ice, it starts melting, making it even more slippery. It's running down darker and darker, and you feel just heat building behind you, and you waken in a panic, and you grab the 2 men next to you. Kieler and Avery kind of, abruptly get grabbed. You look over. Aedric is sitting kind of bolt upright as you're shaking sleep out of your eyes.
It's a nightmare, lads. Go back to sleep.
I was kind of reaching for a knife, and then I just roll over and try to go back to sleep.
What was your dream? Now it is important.
Darkness. I was unarmed. The darkness was closing in. The snow began to melt. I felt a strange presence. It was terrifying.
And heat.
Heat. Lots of heat.
You can't help but the things that stick in your mind the most are the helplessness and the feeling of being pursued.
Mm-hmm.
Something looking for you.
Something was chasing. I'll be back.
Hunting?
It was right there, imminent. I couldn't see it. I could just feel it in the heat. Adric's going to go take a walk.
Throw open the sailcloth and
Yeah.
walk a bit.
Inhale the nice, chill air.
All right. The next day
I'm
comes.
gonna follow him
Oh, sorry.
Oh, cool.
Go ahead.
just at a distance. I don't want him to know I'm there. Just kind of stealthing behind, keeping an eye out.
A little watch over, knowing these lands. All right. There's a nice final camera shot of the silhouette of Adric looking out over this choppy, stormy sea so far from home, and the shadowy figure of this very different warrior in the background. And the camera will come up to the Solvind cutting through a little bit choppier seas today. The crew is pulling hard, and the islands and rocks, reefy rock ridges underneath are closer and further apart, and it's much less of a pleasant journey than yesterday. Anyone without a very strong stomach is going to find it turning, maybe even needing some time over the rail as the day goes on. You are impressed, especially those of you who've spent any time on ship, with the aptitude of the crew and of Eirik and Jan bursting out the orders, and the crew, mostly tribesmen, but there are actually a few humans mixed in here. They all seem to work well as a team, pulling hard, and for the most part, giving none of you any attention at all. I mean, you are no different to them than the bundles of potatoes. You're just cargo. They have to get there. And the day passes slower, faster for some of you. And you come up, and ahead you see two really steep rocky peaks coming out of the water. Matt, you know this is a pretty, just a hairy pass to get through. The tides are brutal here. You're fighting the winds. So Eirik, without much surprise, orders sails dropped and relying on the rows. And you start to push your way through. And you're coming up to the Narrows, these mountains looming over you. Gray skies, choppy waters, whitecaps splashing this cold salt spray. I mean, you're all soaked to the
Miserable.
to the skin.
It's miserable.
Can I?
And yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Can I run? Can I move up to the crow's nest and just try to give an extra set of eyes out for
Yeah.
rocks or anything like that?
Yes, you can. Why don't you give me a perception check right away? And
20.
Arctic Survivor, take a point of inspiration you got to use right now. Add a d6 to this.
Ooh, I'm gonna add multiple inspirations to this because I got like 4 and I rolled a 7. So, you said
Yep.
perception. So I'm sitting at a 12 right now. That's a 16. That's 18. I'll sit at 18, Alex.
Okay. The other crewman that's up there, he kind of nods appreciatively to you. This is a real hairy time, and he's looking ahead, and you kind of spot eyes with him, and then for some reason you turn and you look back, and at first it's hard to see anything with the chop of the water and how rocky everything is, and then you see one of the most feared creatures of these waters, and you grab a hold of the other lookout up here and point him towards it, and the cry comes up from the crow's nest, Haval! Haval! Jan turns towards you and curses under his breath, Whale. From behind the ship comes a massive head. Imagine a shark, but the head extended much further out, almost if you mixed a shark and a plesiosaur. Not a wider neck, thicker neck, but massive mouth at the end. along the top of its head and down the side are these bony protruding ridges. And they come all the way down to these two massive fins. And you get a good look at one as it comes out over the water and begins to reach over to slam down onto the deck. And that's where we'll leave off.
Oh boy.
Oh, jeez.
We're swimming.
Does it also
God,
hate
we're,
me there?
We're going for a swim.
Thank you for listening to the Nasty Graham RPG podcast. We would be eternally grateful if you took the time to give us a rating or review, or force a major TV news network at gunpoint to give us a plug. Our intro music is by Wilhelm Scream, our outro music is by Creeping Cadavers, and our scores are by Adrian Von Ziegler and Thomas Bergerson. Check out links to all those cool cats in the show notes. As always, very special thanks and love to LSG Media. Find them at libertystreetgeek.net. We will catch you next week.
That's nasty.